Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Sorry for the disconnect. From your graves. And if we were to reflect on the meanings, we'll get so much out of them. And this is what is required for us to do, is to reflect and ponder. Because we will die. And we, like one alarm wakes you up in your from your sleep, you heard a loud bang and you woke up. Similarly, so one word raises them, and so one word makes them go to this is life. So all of existence, um, if Allah were to say to all the creation, die, they would all die just by one word. If Allah were to say to them to be raised by one word, they'd be raised. This, just one word, and you'll be raised. All the people will be raised. And a person may be put in one place as a grave, in his grave, but he comes out in another place. For instance, a person dies and his grave is in India. He died and his grave was in India, but he woke up, and whose job is to transfer dead bodies from one graveyard to the sick people are transferred from one hospital to another. The ambulance comes in full speed. They take the patient and they take them to another place. So a person may die in one place, and he raises from a place, loves the people of that place. And by what we mean by being raised is meaning where he comes out on the day of judgment. So people will be raised in places where they love to be. Like for instance, the Sahaba who died in Turkey, in Levant, or in if death comes, even in America, he will also be raised with those whom he loves. Allah knows best. He will be raised with those whom he loves. And there are some people who die and they're buried in Muslim graveyards, but they are actually raised from the graveyards of Pharaoh, of the pharaohs. He's buried with the Muslims, and you see him being raised next to a pharaoh, because he was a pharaoh in this world. People will be raised based on the attributes of their heart, and how we mentioned yesterday, they're people who are veiled. Their nudity is veiled, their nakedness is veiled, like the Prophet. Give him advice. True, you cover his faults, you don't expose him, but at the same time you give him advice. Then Allah says, and indeed and I think the time has come to an end. And we talked about the stations. We'll talk about what comes to a man when he is about to die, how his soul comes out, and what does he see? What does a human see when his soul leaves his body? And how does the one who die in a car accident, how does he die? What does he see? Or for instance, for instance, and a lion ate someone, God forbid. So these things we'll discuss in the next lesson, inshallah. We ask Allah to grant us enabling grace to do that which pleases Him, and He grants us a good ending in our lives, and may He raise us with the right. Habib saying salams to everyone who wrote salams there. There's a question: what does a person do if a person's parents have died and he wasn't pious towards them when they were alive? He can make up for what he lost. True, a person who loses his parents and he wasn't able to show piety towards them, he has lost a great good. If your mother or your father pass away and they are pleased with you, is a lot better, of course, than someone whose parents pass away and they have they're upset with your child. So be warned of having your parents to pass away and they are upset with you. And let's say if a person, let's say he didn't know his religion and his parents died, but while they were alive, he wasn't good to them, and now he's realized, what can he do? There are things he can do. There is one thing, for instance, that reaches the parents' graves. For instance, giving charity on their behalf. For instance, he buys food and he gives it to the poor, and he says, "This may Allah send the reward to my parents." Or he builds a mosque and he gives the reward of that mosque to his mother and father. Or he builds a madrasa or institute. Or he does umrah or hajj on behalf of his parents, which is one of the best things to do. Or he makes dua for them: Allah, forgive my parents, have mercy on them the way they were merciful to me when I was small. Also, staying in touch with the friends of your parents, like your mother and father had close friends, so go and visit them. And also, Prophet used to send gifts even to the friends. Mention the greatness, or mention the good traits of your parents before your children. Some children, unfortunately, only mention the faults of their parents. You shouldn't do that. Even if your parents have something negative, you never mention them. Even if those attributes were bad. Some people, they do backbiting of their parents in front of their friends. Yeah. Now, also, from the means of having steadfastness at the time of death is to be consistent in the dhikr of when you go to sleep. The dhikr that you do when you go to sleep. Many people neglect this and they go to sleep like donkeys, not caring about this dhikr. To read the dua, Bismika Rabbi Wada'tu Jambi, and the end till the end of the dua, the whole adhkar of the sleeping, and to recite Surat al-Kafirun. Recite Surat al-Kafirun before going to bed, and also when waking up from sleep, to make the dua Alhamdulillah alladhi ahyana ba'da ma matna ilayhi nushur. This also alleviates, you die the way you sleep, and you will be raised the way you wake up, how the Prophet ﷺ said.